So, when we're talking about passions, there's two sides to me, Leroy. The first is to kind of do my work, at least 5 minutes, to just orient myself what I think. The other side that's competitive is to be eight and just silly with you. And so one of the words that kept sneaking in when I was thinking about passions and you is antics. Because I was like, what is Leroy passionate about? Never mind the serious stuff. We can get to that. But what about your antics? Because you're one of the funniest, most playful, humorous people I know. And over the years, I've been annoyed by antics. I have been that child that wets their pants by your antics. I have been relieved. I have been moved from tears to laughing. That levity that you always talk about, where I've just felt that the antidote for my anxiety. And I just thought of this because you had come in saying that you'd felt like a little anxious today. But the antidote is that humor, the fun, the lightheartedness. And I was thinking how this has potential to be a passion, and I think it's become a little bit more of it. And I can't say that it's the antics it's the passion, but the drive that you have to consolidate people with a kind of a universal method. So I'm Lori. I'm here with Leroy. Leroy, would you like to either claim it and pat yourself on the back or defend yourself for your antics?
I have long been a disciple of levity. I
Yes.
do believe that humor is life's elixir.
Ooh.
Um, that it's funny that you say passionate because I don't know if it's passion
Me
or
either.
if it's an uncomfortable present nature. And so like we'll just make a joke out of it because I don't know what to do next. But you're not wrong. I mean, you are not wrong. So as we look to this, that's funny because I think it's certainly an acquired um, taste. It's an acquired activity to kind of govern over our passions. I think if you can't give what you're not in first possession of.
Oh, true.
So to a certain point, we have to govern our passions because we cannot share them. This is just for consideration. Everything we talk about here on Strong Island Entertainment and Tug of Heart is up for consideration. That's what I love that about this
You know what
time
I
we
you know what
spend
I like
together.
in it too?
No authority, just consider it.
Yeah. You know what it is? This is like just a willingness to offer ourselves up for disembowelment, if you will, where we just like, let's just spill our guts. Blech. Now let's see what's in there, kind of dig around. Some of it we're not going to keep. Some we can work with that. So we're just spilling
I'm
our
taking
guts.
notes. How do you spell blah?
Blah. We're just
um,
we're just spilling our
so
guts here.
so so I think it's important to to govern to a point, but not govern to a point that we morph our passions. we can,
Ooh, I love
we
that.
can't be in such control that the passion loses its raw nature of being just that, a passion.
That's right. And that's why, to tell you the truth, this is the serious bit. This is why I mentioned antics, which is not the. Actually, I looked up the word antics because I said you and your antics the other night. So I'm not gonna try to lower that I was quite interested in that, and I think humor's not the only way, but I think there has to be a way that we take a certain lightness with us to our passions, because what can happen is we can think we're taking our passions so serious, but it's really ourselves who's become that serious person. And we finished last time talking about I'm just a rock. It was funny, like saying that I'm unmovable. Well, yeah, what does that speak to? That's rigidity. That's a unwillingness to move. So you cannot have a passion to the extent that you don't respond to anything else, because we are alive and active by nature. And so it doesn't, and we also are tremendous forces here on earth. We're here to govern, seriously govern, and to take care of what's in front of us, to recognize what we have, to care for it, and to do right by it, and to one another. And I think when a passion goes too far, it can fall into a negative, and that's when we say we're not really governing it, when it becomes damaging or we become neglectful in any way to anything else in our life, that whether or not it's a passion, but that we have a sort of obligation to. And I think one of the ways to do it, in your case, and I can't say that's the approach for everybody, is with the humor, where you told the story about the guy, right, with the bolts and the torque, the gadunk, not gadunk, something else. Pardon me. Excuse me. I was listening to different music. I'm like, how does that sound go?
Thugga.
Thugga is what I meant to say. But you have to be able to make light of it sometimes, because if you take yourself so serious, is that your passion, or are you like under ownership of the passion, right? What owns whom, or whom owns what? What are your thoughts about passion and governing? Because we're coming into this one a little bit raw. So,
I guess I'm a little bit mixed on it. I feel a little bit both sides, because how can we truly own a passion if we're in control of a passion? Wouldn't that be more learned behavior?
well, yeah, we're governing ourselves in relationship with the passion, maybe, because we can only really govern
I
ourselves.
started out last time we chatted, and I said, an eloquently bridled passion, it's complementary to mankind. So I think there's something, we can be as passionate as we want to be about something. I can be as passionate as I want to be about something, but I can't expect other people to be as passionate about my passion.
That's true.
And we're getting into dangerous territory.
And I think that's key, what you're saying, because when I hear that, the first thing that I thought of, well, I was thinking of the bridled, and then what you just said. And I think key in having passions is that with maturity, we have to select which passions we take with us, because we pick up a lot of stuff along the way over the years. And we have to say which ones best transform me into the person I want to be, because one of our passions has to be coming into our highest nature, if you will, or who we're really meant to be. And painfully, you have to let go sometimes of some of the passions that don't serve that, or you have to kind of repurpose them in a meaningful way.
Let me step in here for 2 seconds,
Sure.
Lori, and I'm going to ask you for a little bit of lateral movement here. I got to ask you, don't you think that passions are very much like love languages?
Well, passions are love.
In that, my currency, when it comes to my passions, is something that's best understood by me.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard. I think it would be very difficult for me to try and weigh somebody else's passions. I couldn't even begin to understand them. And part of what makes them beautiful is to stand back in awe. If I understood their passion, it may not have the same beauty, magnificence as just looking at it and saying, wow. It's kind of like looking at a mechanical watch and saying, like, I have no idea how that all works. I don't even want to try and learn how it works. But knowing that somebody was passionate about time to the point that they mark time with the most intricate, and like that's enough for me. I can just appreciate their passion for it. I'll never understand it, but I can appreciate it.
Right.
I don't know if that's challenging you, but I do think that passions are a currency. You know, somebody can be like, "Man, I'm passionate about long drives," and somebody else could say, like, "That's the most ridiculous thing in the world. All you're doing is wasting fuel, contaminating the ozone." But I love driving in the country. But you're wasting fossil fuels. Well, you know, is either one wrong? Not really.
Right. I think if we take it back to what, like you're talking about individual passions, and one of the things about this is we've jumped into passions without consulting, history and historical thoughts where people have actually built on one another in terms of passion. So we're talking about passion in the form of almost like its relationship to what you do with it. And a lot of it can be how it manifests itself. And then we're calling that passion. But that may not necessarily be passion because it's not like, if you would want to be technical, is walking a passion? Is painting a passion? Because passions technically are like joy, delight, love or hate, aversion or desire. So it's these things that can pull or push you from it, technically. So that's the passion, and the object of the passion is just the other side of each of those. I mean, and there's a few others, but I think it clarifies a lot for me because of what you just said about how we see other people's passion, because that's the component there that I think I was overlooking. You can't gauge another's compassion because you can't gauge like something that somebody does and takes a tremendous amount of courage, which is a passion, or something that somebody does that doesn't make sense to you, but they do it because it brings them joy, right? Like that's where it becomes subjective. And I think it's tough to talk about governing our passions if we don't first recognize that, first of all, to have a passion is a universal thing among all of us, but the object of the passions can be so different. So we can't exhaust what potential passions can be, but what we can say is exactly what you said. We can, how did you say, what was the thing that you said, like you can, that we can appreciate somebody's passion? And so, Leroy, my question for you is, so if I appreciate that somebody has a certain passion, okay, and this is a true question for myself, I'm asking for a specific reason, how could I best help to foster that? And or is it even mine to worry about? Do you just respect it in the space it takes, or do you like involve, or how does that work? Is it a personal matter? What do you think?
I think for the first and foremost, we have to, when I say we have to consider accepting that passions are not fixtures in our life.
Oh,
Passions change.
that's the short way of saying all that wordiness.
So
Yeah, good.
if you don't believe me that passions change, I mean,
That's
when
right.
I was a
That's
young
right.
kid, I was very passionate about not getting spanked.
Oh yeah. You put books
Now
in
I'm
your
a little
pants
bit older.
once.
I'm passionate about spankings. No, I'm just kidding.
You
But
pay good money.
they're they're not fixtures in our life, you know.
You're
So
right. Yes.
in as much as our passions change, so do others. I think for me, every time we have these discussions, I walk away with just a little extra hitch in my giddy up, you know. I get a little bit more oomph because I I don't I don't think I need to understand their passion to sit back and be like, that's really cool. I don't need to understand it. But I'm glad they're passionate about something. Now, what might be annoying to me is I feel that everybody should have a passion or passions, and something that they, maybe it's people watching. That's great. If you're passionate about it, great. Maybe it's kind of not interjecting something we're not passionate about, but um, I mean that's another one of those things where I'm just going to say, like, wow, I think I get it a little bit more. I can appreciate other people's passions without necessarily participating. I don't have to champion their passions. I
Oh, I
don't
like
have to,
that. Yeah.
um, I don't have to offer up guidance or instruction about their passions. I just got to look back and say, wow, good for you.
Okay, let me
Not
ask
in a
you
condescending
another.
way, but glad. I'm glad. I mean, I want them to feel the same thing I feel when I do what I do, because what I do may not make any sense to somebody else. I
Can't.
mean, it probably doesn't, but to
Mm,
me it does.
I don't
And I
know.
and
I
I
don't know
like
you
I
as
like that
different.
feeling, and that's a feeling I would want everybody to have.
I have two questions for you. I'm hoping the second one I can remember as I ask the first. This is bringing it back to governing our passions. The first one, and this is like a real loose theory that I just formed as you were speaking. Don't you think part of governing our passions, or tempering them, if you will, comes from recognizing what is true passion that is beneficial in our life and what is not? And I'm going to say this because, quite frankly, like even today's temperature, you can be enthusiastic and you can be so excited by something, a passion, and you have like a physical response to that, right? Like the heart, the excitement, your body loosens up. Or it can be more of a hyper feeling where your body tenses up, but that recognition, you liken it to your passion. Now, the problem with this to me is like, how would I separate something that I do that gives me enthusiasm and a physical response or excitement versus something gets me piping mad and I'm just angry and I have a physical response? Because my feeling is that a lot of people engage in a lot of activities that are just counterproductive to being the best we can be. And I include myself first, but I wouldn't jump in that confession alone because I see it more and more. And I think that people can believe they're passionate about something, but it's kind of just they're like maybe they're more habitually angry about some stuff, or and I mean the elephant is politics. The other one is my way or no way. We don't like anything different than us, and we see maybe even a passion in somebody, what they call passion, and it gives rise to what we could counter with our own passion. But it's really just an argument. So, do you think recognizing the difference would help to govern? That's the first question.
And to answer that, remember that this all came about to kind of solve and offer up our own struggles as a way for other people to kind of go through their own very personal struggles.
Mm-hmm.
But Dad said it best, Lori. That which you enjoy wasting isn't wasted at all.
That's so true.
And what he said was, you know, we're sitting here, and I think we're in this constant state. Earlier, we were talking about passions, and passions are what compel us to educate ourselves. And so just consider this, Lori. If you were having a spirited debate with somebody and the views were polarizing, and you got to a point, first you have to ask yourself, is there a collection of words that this adversary can utter that will satisfy me? Nope. We don't necessarily make that argument to sway them, but to build conviction in ourselves.
Ooh, I like that. You're right.
because I think that maybe, just maybe, it's not about getting it right. It's about us truly believing, because we can formulate a thought, but it's not until we defend that thought that we believe in that thought. It's kind of, I would say it's like, a hypothesis. I have a hypothesis about something. But now, once I defend that,
Right. Right.
now it's like, okay, I won the battle at this level. But remember, there's somebody's going to come along that can challenge it at a heightened degree, and
R-
so our conviction grows.
Right. I like that a
When
lot.
I say our, I'm including you because we share a brain,
Mhm.
but it's me, mine. Mine grows when I defend something.
You're
In
right.
general, it's very, very clear to me, and I don't have a lot of gray in my life. I see things the way I see them. They make sense to me. Um,
You know, I
and it's only through the defense of my posture that that I'm growing. You know.
I
So when
that's interesting.
somebody else in governing their passion, that's kind of hard to say because there's so many variables there. There again, that which you enjoy wasting isn't wasted at all. If that's what they enjoy, who are we to say
That brings me back to when
that's not your passion? That's not that's
that's
not a real passion. That
you
is their real passion.
I'm so glad you actually clarified that because it brings me back to what I had said at the beginning with antics. And, like jokingly, I had to get that out. But the fact is, you do it to debug something so that it doesn't get incredibly messy. Like a lot of times when you're going to offer some humor, it's to lighten things up. And maybe other people, their way of debugging does not have to be humor. And I'm so glad you said that because that brings it back to this idea that we're in no position ever to assess and apply a certain value, worth something or not, about another person's passion. Because if you think about it, that we respond to something and that it causes that rise in us that I've been speaking of, that is what its value is, if nothing else, right? The time in my life that it took. So my next question was, how have you experienced in your personal life, and I'll take either as a success or as falling short, some type of experience with governing your own passions?
Mm. I'd probably simplify this by telling you more about the times in which I didn't govern.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I said. Either one is fine because both are so valuable to learn from, right?
Um, so so when I probably early on in the first or second time I was able to, have this share this time with you, and I told you about my hobby is collecting hobbies, and or at least my wife would tell you that. I have a hard time when I get on something. I have a hard time letting go.
Right.
So it's really, really, really good for being a contractor
Right.
because I couldn't stop something until I was like, okay, I got to the end. It's done. But it's really hard in like a personal life. You have a wife and it's like, oh my God, let it give it a rest. Um, and I mean, I've done things like made my own kerosene lamps.
Oh, me
You know,
too. Me too.
I,
It's the
I,
best.
yeah, I mean, so, but then it's like, okay, but now I want to use brass and I want to patina the brass and I don't have the patience and now I got to, I'm saying patience because we had a conversation about patience. Um, but so I get on these things, and it's like whether I'm building a vehicle from scratch or building a lantern, or it's like I
How
can't.
about the fire insert? Was that being passionate about? Did you just get into the project, or were you thinking of your passion of being a devoted brother?
To be a little bit more clear here, you for the anybody who's listening, all two of you now, um, there is an insert. You wanted a way to burn both
Obsessed,
wood
obsessed. Not even
and
passion.
pellets,
It surpassed passion,
but
and
they
I was
but,
obsessed.
but they burn at two different rates.
Hmm.
And they need airflow and all these different things. So when all you had to do is say like, I've got an idea. How do I burn two separate
Temperatures.
materials,
Hmm.
two different fuels, one at a much higher rate than the other, but I need the first one to ignite the second one. Say no more. Say no more, Lori. I got this. So then I set about, and that would be one of the times in my life where it's like, nothing else is moving. They're like, we're not doing anything else until we get this done. No, 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 no. What do you mean it's time to eat dinner? Are you mad? Have you seen what I got in front of me here? I got a task. I got to build a better fire burner. Okay? And that's just what I'm going to do. I mean, have you zero consideration? Do you not see how stressed I am? I'm sitting here. I'm working with stainless. I'm working with regular steel, and one's not strong enough because if it gets too hot, and I become a madman. But in that moment, I had zero ability to govern my passion for getting it right. Part of it is wanting to generate a product that you would be beneficial and meaningful in your life, and then there's the natural challenge of personal aptitude and can I do this?
Right.
And I'm passionate about challenges. Give me a Rubik's cube, you know. But I mean that's a time in which I had zero control. I mean I wasn't going to leave the house. I wasn't going to shower. I wasn't going to do anything until that was done, and that would be very much like a car or acquiring anything. I mean, I get into something, I really get into it. There was a time in my life where I started marksmanship, and okay, and I went out and at a young age, got what I could afford, and like this is never going to work because I got into the point where it's like, okay, let's let the barrel cool between the rounds and let's take it as far as we can take, and it's like this is just not acceptable. We're going to have to get something different. So the passion put other things, maybe I needed new shoes, and I'm like, nah, these will work, and then I continue until I get to a 100-yard shot where you're sending them through the same hole. It's like, wow, okay, now we've got something, okay. And then as quickly as it's challenges, because as quickly as
That's what I'm thinking. Yes.
As quickly as I adopted the challenge, when I got to the point where it's like, okay, we're going to just share a hole in that quarter. I'm going to send the second shot through the hole created by the first shot.
Right.
And once I did that, well, we can just put this stuff in the safe now and let's do something else. Let's build a better tomato.
So,
so that's kind of, yeah. Is it dangerous? You bet it is. You bet it is, because in that moment, for anybody within striking distance, yeah, no, I was busy. I was busy with the most impractical of challenges, because what did it mean really? Not a whole lot. But I enjoyed it. I found
not
energy.
wasted.
Get up early, drive out to the range, do what I'm doing. When you needed that fire thing, I mean, and I had a blast doing it. So much so that I know now that it's been in use for several years, you're going to need some new pellet cages. And I had the insight enough back then to make up more than one. So we're in good shape, Laura.
Good thing because of the cost of fuel this winter. So, I
Yeah.
mean, I think, again, this ends up being something that, like, we didn't even, this could only be almost a reckless introduction to this because it runs so much deeper than I would have imagined walking in here,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's not what I expected even for myself. I don't know where you are with that, but I'll ask one more question while you're in a more pensive mood here. It's good to catch you like this. So if I can insert something and introduce you to it, and then you become very passionate about it and just kind of run away with it, what does this say about, not that you're like the prototype for all humanity, but you'll do for this conversation, because I do think there is something, the heart is the same in people. So do you think that it's a possibility that we can choose something to be passionate about and it can grow? Or is it an all or none type of response? Can we say, I want to care about this, I don't right now, but I should care about, say, charity? And could you make a conscious decision to increase your passion for the homeless, let's say?
Great question. Probably could have used that question in the previous recording. I think that's what identifies a passion. A passion is it's funny because we're talking about governing passion, and as we explore this topic, I have to say that that's what identifies a passion. It's something nearly, at least for a window of time, it certainly challenges self-control.
Yeah, it's tempering us instead of us tempering the
Yeah,
passion.
exactly.
Yeah, we
Exactly.
framed it almost reverse.
Right. Right. And
That's
so
amazing. Yeah.
passions are activities in need of governing but lacking governing.
Right. That's right. And that's the,
So your question was, if we're not passionate about charity, can we
yeah, you just objectively,
barter with ourselves
right.
and make it a passionate item?
Can it be a
I don't think
choice?
so.
Huh?
I don't think so. I think children, a child eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich sitting to a child with no peanut butter and jelly sandwich will probably just share.
Right.
Split the sandwich
You
in half.
sounded like
Just makes
grandma.
sense.
Chair
Yeah,
this.
right. They would probably just split it in half and say, well, I've got a big sandwich, you've got no sandwich. We each have a small sandwich. I mean, like children just figure it out. They get it. They get so much right.
That's natural
So,
in them.
so I think it's hard. I think it would be hard to say that you could create passion. I think we uncover passion. We
Oh.
reveal passion,
So maybe
you know,
just having
in
the,
attempting different things.
you're right.
Kind of like when somebody said, "Oh, you should write a short story." Well, what's a short story? 500 words or less. 10 minutes later, I send it back. Well, here's something, I didn't count the words, but here's a short story.
That goes
Like
back to your, because
they ignited a passion that I didn't even know existed.
I'm
So we
looking,
have to try different things.
that's right, because I'm looking at the list of the children while we were talking, or what I caught of it that you had said. And that's the, because it's like accepting of others, which all of these kind of ended up naturally coming into this, which is also the being compassionate. But I think it's that exploring and a certain sense of innocence and believing in yourself just enough that if somebody says you ought to try this, it doesn't have to be like this tremendous act of ego, but just believe in yourself enough, like just enough for an okay. how transforming can that be, right? It doesn't have to be like, oh, I'll nail this. I know this about myself. You just be like, yeah, I'll try it. Because even to have the thought of, objectively speaking, I could do more for the homeless, and then you do it, you'll never know if the intro to that passion was that subtle, quiet tug on your heart, which is why I call it that, right? It didn't have to be like, ta-da, because if you do picture like, I'm going to do more for the homeless, I'm going to feed them, and if you have this instant passion for it, are you imagining yourself with a little bit of glory there? Is that what's making you feel passionate? You know what I'm saying? It's a little less natural. Where if you're like, okay, I'll try, you can uncover this passion without it being linked to this projection you had. Because to feel passionate about, because I mean, to be grounded in reasonableness, reality, oh, I think I'm going to be passionate about feeding homeless, like, sounds like a lot of work. So a rational answer is like, not like I'm going to have this intense enthusiasm, because your enthusiasm is that aversion to hunger and suffering, and you want to squash that out. But if you're already picturing it like amazing and everything, you're kind of just picturing yourself, and that's a passion a little bit more about yourself, maybe, right?
I like that.
Yeah, I mean, it needs some work, but it's a thought. So, like, I think it could be the beginning of something.
So as we kind of wrap up this this topic, I'll tell you two things. Number one, a lot of questions, right? Isn't that funny?
More
You
questions
say,
than
hey,
answers today.
let's discuss something, and this is one of those proverbial Pandora's boxes, you know?
Yeah.
Because we're left with more questions than answers. But I'm going to encourage you, myself, both of you people listening, to just reflect well on the things that make us, that bring us rest, the things that make us feel alive, the things that, golly, the things we're passionate about, and then consider, are they in due bounds with man? Do we violate other people's passions because
Yeah, does our
the pursuit
passion
of our
over
passions?
right? Oh, I want to do something about that next time.
Lori, I had so much fun, and we always come to the end long before I'm ready. But thank you for taking this time today to go through this.
Thanks for
Maybe
joining me and actually
maybe
letting this like be a slow yes, and hopefully this can become a passion maybe, and then we'll know the answer.
yeah. Well, until next time, Lori. Adios.
All right.
I'll see you soon.
Goodbye. Thank you, Strong Island, and thank you those of you listening. You can like and share on Tug of Heart and on strongisland.com. They're also on Facebook. Bobby, thank you so much.
Thank you, Bobby.
You got it.
He does such a nice job. Oh, and also Strong Island is Bobby. Can you tell where Strong Island is airing now?
Well, we have
Got a new gig, right?
our first batch of shows are rolling out on Long Island Optimum, which is the cable network in Nassau and Suffolk County. So we have like 5 shows that start this week, and just growing the network. Getting it out
so
there.
check it out if you're local, I think, and probably online. They would be able to watch it online from even out of state, right?
Well, you can watch it online now.
You could do whatever you like.
But if you're in Long Island, if you're on Long Island and just your regular Optimum TV, you can check the guide and you'll see all the programs in there.
Okay. Thanks, Bobby.
You got
And
it.
thank you for joining us. Thanks again, Leroy. I love you. And until
Love you
next
too.
time.
Thank you, Lori. Take us out.